Hey there, and welcome to the Sarah Renee Show, where I share heavenly insights with you each week to help you get back your joy and to support you on your spiritual growth journey. Today, I am super excited to share some stories with you and dive into this topic. We are going to be talking about when an atheist discovers heaven. And this is like just one of the most profound experiences that I have been honored to have several times. I mean, I've been blessed to have this happen with many clients over the years, and every time it's always just miraculous to me. And it's miraculous in how God even brings these clients who are atheists to me, and just how their journey even begins, before we connect and then continues on. Like it just blows my mind. And so I wanted to share about that with you and dive into the benefits that I see, like the profound transformation that I see in these people when they come to believe, when they come to know in their hearts God. And whether it's more of God the Father, or a lot of these instances have been, specifically with Jesus, and with the angels. And so I'll share with you kind of what what I see happen in them, because I think sometimes when, I don't know if you're like me, maybe you're listening to this and you're on the atheist line, or you're new to your beliefs, and you're going to like really resonate with everything that I'm sharing, most likely. And maybe if you're a little bit like how I was before I ever had these experiences, I think I kind of took my faith for granted, to be quite honest. Like I always believed in God, right? Always believed in Jesus, like always had believed in angels, and had these experiences and knew my grandmother in heaven. So ever since I was a child, I had that really built into me as a knowing. But I definitely saw, as I started to see this transformation, witness this transformation in these clients, I saw where I had taken my faith for granted in some ways, and I just didn't realize, the true power of it. And so these particular clients are always such huge inspirations to me to continue to deepen my own personal relationship with God, and to really like notice and catch the transformation, to cultivate that self-awareness so that I can celebrate how God has transformed my life personally and my growth in God. So let's dive in. And I want to start out this topic with a story. And this is a story of one of my first clients. So this was like many, many years ago. And one of my first, not my first clients, but my first atheist client. Okay. So I was a few years into doing this work, and she came to me and we met at a park. And I remember she was very kind, very sweet, and I could feel her grief instantly. And I didn't know why she was coming. She didn't tell me anything. She just booked an appointment, came, and so we sit down, and she's like, I don't even know what to expect today. Like I have to just be honest with you. I'm not really expecting anything, because I don't really believe in heaven. I don't really believe in any kind of higher power. And so I was like, okay. Now I was like, well, what do you want to talk about? Because that's like what I talk about. Um, And she was like, I would like to, try to be open to receive any messages that you have for me. And so I was like, okay. And so the gift that she gave in how she showed up, because I've had people show up because their spouse makes them or their friend makes them. And, it's kind of painful for all of us because they aren't open at all. And it's, I never want to change someone's beliefs because I'm wanting to change their beliefs, right? Like it's none of it is about me. It's always about God and the person's relationship with God, right? Through their loved ones on the other side or directly through God or through the angels or, however that comes to be for different people, that's what it comes down to. So anyhow, so I sit down with her, I tune in and I'm like, okay, God, you know, God, in Jesus' name, bring through, either send through, messages about her loved ones on the other side, or whatever messages you have that are in her highest and greatest good. Please guide me. And I know that she's saying she's an atheist, but I can feel like she wants to feel your presence here. So I was really praying for God to help her feel that presence, however God wanted to make that happen and to be used in whatever my role was. And um so in that moment I saw Jesus, which you know, I feel like the God word is it's more touchy for more people than I ever thought it would be. Um that I found over the years, but what's really interesting is especially in like the new agey world, it's like people can pull from other religions no problem because they don't know the real context, they haven't lived it. But like you start talking about Jesus and people can kind of freak out. So um it's just interesting. But so when I saw Jesus, I'm telling you this because I want to give you like the insight to my reaction in myself, which is where it continually shows me that God knows what God is doing. And I don't know because I would edit or water things down because I might not know what someone really needs to hear. Right? So I see Jesus and I'm like, we're going straight with Jesus today. Like um and I'm like, okay, she already said that she was an atheist. Like, don't we want to start out talking about energy? Like, don't we want to like baby step? It's like, no. So Jesus comes forward and Jesus brings through this male energy who feels fatherly to me. So I tell her, and the first words out of his mouth were, I was wrong. And he really does exist. And this is all really real. So I'm like, wow, like we're not even like dipping our toe. Like we're just going there. Like, okay, so I relay that to her and she has like tears and then it's like her heart just opened. Like it's like I could visibly see her posture, her energy, like her mind, her heart, her emotions just open in that moment. It was the most memorable, one of the most profound moments that I've ever had. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Um, and it was relief. It was also relief. And that, like, I think I shared in a previous episode of my own personal renewal of my relationship with Jesus, and I felt that relief. And so that was years after this happened. Um, and so the relief that I have only seen happen through Jesus is it's just interesting. As somebody who's interested in theology and people's belief systems and what works and what doesn't work and kind of the like the logical side of things. I always find that really fascinating that out of all of the spirit guides and all of the different paths and, all of the different things that people open up to and believe in and practice, I feel like Jesus brings this element of true peace, true relief, um, unconditional love, acceptance, this worthiness, even in the unworthiness that I don't see with any other beings. And that's just the truth of my experience. So anyway, so I see the relief. They're like, get on track, Sarah. No. um, and Jesus is like, okay, so he's like, we got to tell her about her dad. Okay. So he starts having me feel how her dad felt when he passed. So I immediately go to, it's like I'm seeing myself in this hospital bed. And um and I'm seeing all of the IVs and everything, and I can hear like the beeping of the machines, and I feel like this like weight on my chest. Um, like the breathing is getting rough, but then I'm like drawn to my lower abdomen, and there's like this pain, and it's like that. How it was shown to me was like that caused this. So I'm like, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I'm getting. And sure enough, it was some type of infection that triggered organ failure that then resulted in some type of like pneumonia. It was an interesting um, way that it worked. And she explained it brilliantly because she was in the medical industry, as was her father. They were scientists. He was actually a professor in the medical studies. So he was like a doctor, and then he taught as well, which she told me at the very end. So anyway, so I'm relaying all of this to her, and Jesus shows me, he goes, there was a moment where she saw her father's soul leave his body, and she knew he was going somewhere. She knew he wasn't just gone. And so I share that with her, and more tears, more relief. She starts saying, that's when I knew. Like, I knew because she was like, I was expecting. So this was the really, really amazing part. She was expecting to see his life just fade away and for him to be gone, like entirely, because he had raised her to believe there's no afterlife. Like, we have this one life, we live and then we die and then we go get recycled back into the earth, and circle of life, right? And but she could sense his soul still alive after his body had died. So she had this sense, and she saw like like how she described it was like just barely there light, like exiting his body, but she could feel his presence. Okay, so then she's like, I thought I've been losing my mind because I've been feeling him with me, and it's been like over a month, and I feel him, like I get all of these signs, like I hear his voice, like thoughts in my head that were the tone, like he would say. She's like, I have dreams, like he was really like working overtime to tell her, hey, I'm still here. I'm okay. I made it. It's like this is real. You can talk to me. And what he described is when he left his body, he was like, he showed me his soul, like feeling like it sat up out of his body and looking around the hospital room and being like, are you serious? Like, but my body's dead, but what, like so confused. Like, what is happening? Why am I still alive? But my body's dead. Like in his knowing, it wasn't in his experience because of being such a non-believer, it wasn't just instant in the sense of him understanding. It took a minute. He was like, what is happening? And he saw his mother standing in the hospital, the doorway to his hospital room. And she was standing with Jesus. And she said, I refuse to let you be lost. I know that you're stubborn. She's like, so I brought him with me. And I was like, so, I mean, this woman, how I saw it was so hilarious. It was like she was so sweet, but it reminded me of like when a parent who is so kind and so like gives you your space and really allows you to figure it out on your own. And when they've just like had it up to here and they're like, okay, stop it. Like, this is the way it is. Like, why don't you see? So it was so loving, but she was like, because Jesus was laughing. He's like, if I would have come on my own, he wouldn't have, he like he still probably would have argued with it. He's like, we needed to bring his mom to help him know that it was really me. Um, and so his soul came to know Jesus in that moment in the hospital room after he had died, thanks to his lovely mother and who had been praying for him, like even, when she was alive, when he was alive. um she was a very devout, believer and had really strong faith. And so she was able to help him connect with Jesus. And he's just like showing me, so her father, like he's like mind blown, like just it's like his professor essence. And this is what is so cool about heaven. And I think, and this is what like I think she really connected with. Because a lot of people you'll hear them say, oh, we go and we're all one, or we go and we don't have our personality anymore. Jesus always shows me people with very much their person, like with their personality still intact. It's it's like we're the truest version of ourself. We don't have the ego, we don't have like addiction, we don't like the suffering, like those things don't exist, but we're the truest essence of ourselves. And so parts of our personality that are on a soul spirit level do very much exist over there. And yeah, it's like we're the truest purest versions of ourselves. And so we don't lose ourselves when we die. I feel like it's more of the opposite, that we find ourselves, in a new way. And that's what this man, really his journey through his life review, through his like he described it like he felt like he went kind of back to school almost over there with Jesus, and like really saw in his life where he shut down and where he pushed God away, where he closed that door, because of pain, because of trauma, because of a lack of understanding, because of, judgmental people and all of that. And where he like was brought through this like school, like, curriculum, I want to call it, with Jesus and his angels, and seeing like, wow, like we had it all wrong. And then the urgency of realizing I raised my daughter, like my best friend. They were so close. Like my best friend, my daughter, my mini me, I raised her not to believe in you. And that was the urgency. The urgency was, you know, like, hey, this is real. He's real. Heaven is real. I am okay. I get to still be with you, because he was realizing in seeing her grief that because she didn't believe in an afterlife in heaven, she felt so alone now that he was gone, like even more alone. Like we always feel somewhat alone when we lose somebody that close to us, but she felt like, like she didn't even want to be alive anymore. And so he had this urgency of like, we had to knock on all the doors and all the windows and like tell her like I was wrong. And it was such an incredible session. Jesus helped this man show me like, specific memories that they had, different parts of his personality, work that he had done, that she had helped him with, um, stuff about his home that she had inherited, stuff about the memorial service that they had, like enough details that there's no way that I could have known. Because that was the other thing. So at the end, she she reintroduces herself. Okay, so we have this like amazing experience. I should tell you this in order. Okay. So we have this amazing experience, both of us. And she, by the end, even though and I told her, it's for me, it's not about you believing, it's about you having this experience. And she was like, this experience wouldn't have happened if it wasn't true. And so she had like an instantaneous, awakening, revelation, a coming to believe, a coming to know Jesus through her father on the other side in that hour time. And so at the end, she gives me this big hug, and I get like her energy. I mean, just night and day, completely different. I mean, she was one way and then she was another way. And only God can do that. That's nothing that I do. Like that's only God can do something that extreme and that profound. And I just feel blessed that I get to be a part of it. And she goes, okay, I have to tell you, my real name is, and she shared her real name. And that was when she told me my dad was a doctor and he was also a very well-known professor. So she was like, everything, if you would have Googled me or Googled him, like everything would have came up. So I booked it under like a fake email and a fake name and all this stuff. It, so that was even more amazing because it really showed like God, like none of this was based on her name, her birthday, any like information. Like it was all God knowing who she is in her heart, knowing her life story, knowing her dad. Like it was just beyond what any human could do. Um, and so we stayed in touch, and she had, more sessions over the years. And I remember getting this email, and it was like probably a couple months after that initial session. And she was like, I keep feeling drawn to read the Bible. I haven't gone to church yet, but I've been praying and talking to my dad, talking to Jesus, like learning different things. And she's like, I've been studying the history of it, and it makes so much sense, like that it is real, right? Because remember, she's intellectual. So she's like, I believe, and then now I need to have like some tangible facts to kind of back up that belief, right? So she found it through studying the history of Jesus and the Bible and all of that. And then so then she starts reading the actual Bible. And then she booked another session to start to have me help mentor her on how she can deepen her prayer, deepen her meditation, deepen her direct connection with Jesus, with the angels, um, with her dad in a way that was aligned, biblically for her. Um, and and so I was able to help her. And I was able to receive the messages and direction from Jesus, and to really help her boost that connection. And you guys, like, over the years, I mean, she just drastically transformed. Like her, I mean, she looked like I would say, like, a year later, she looked 10 years younger. Like, and it wasn't just healing the grief. It was like she was healthier, she was brighter, she was feeling led. And she said, like, I have been so stressed out my whole life. And she's like, through my faith, and this is the thing that I've seen in all of my clients who've had this experience, and in myself, and in everyone that I work with, is like, through her faith, it was like she knew she could face anything. It was like, with God, all things are possible. And with this kind of support, with this kind of higher power, like, I can handle any challenge that comes my way. I can handle anything, you know, God calls me to face. Like, and she had gotten promoted. She wrote a book. Like, she started teaching colleagues in this very scientific world more about faith, like helping them open up and have these spiritual experiences. I mean, she ended up being, really growing into such a profound healer. I would say healer in the sense of her work in the medical field, and in her spreading the message of her experiences and her belief and her faith, with other people who, like her, hadn't really, believed in any of that. And here's the thing too. Your spiritual relationship, this is what is coming up as I'm feeling into what is the message, and sharing this with you today, is your spiritual relationship to your higher power, whether that's Jesus for you or another higher power. That relationship should, and I don't love the word should, but it's okay. It should empower you. When you really have that true, like, I call it God reliance, from my 12-step lingo, okay? When you truly come into that living faithfully, God reliance, you have these experiences with your higher power that are so solid, where and this is a lot of times why people have these experiences in rock bottom situations during hardships, because we can't do it on our own. And so it's like we have to break open our stubbornness and our, pride and all of that, and we receive that help. And then you have that knowing, like, God got me through that. God's going to get me through anything. Right? Like, if Jesus came to me here when I was in that place, he can get me through anything. Like, and people have different ways to get there, right? This was the way, what I've seen most commonly is the way that in just my particular clientele has been through people who go through a huge crisis of faith, like they go through a loss, they go through a rock bottom. They are dealing with health issues. They're in some type of crisis, and within that crisis, they find God. And then through or through their loved ones in heaven, and building that connection, and then their loved ones in heaven bring them to God. And but within that, you do need to be I'm going to talk about discernment, later on, but you do need to be discerning because you definitely don't want to just be like opening up to whatever or trying to connect with your loved ones on a Ouija board. That's a thing that, has been practiced in black magic and like spirits can lie, right? Like people don't like to hear it, people don't like to say it, but they can lie. So you have to have that level of discernment. And in my experience, what's kind of always been my double check is saying in Jesus' name. But again, I've always been a believer, but also in that everything that I've gotten, has gone along with the Bible. When something doesn't, I'm like, eh. And then sure enough, I usually discover through Jesus, through God, that like, yeah, no, that was a wanderer, a lower being or whatever. Um, or something demonic. That hasn't happened in my sessions. Um, but I would say in my personal, not where I've believed, but where it's more been like negative thoughts in my head, um, is usually a psychic attack. So but we'll go more into that later. But since I mentioned that your loved ones on the other side can help you grow closer to God, I wanted to just kind of offer that disclaimer of you want to be sure that you're praying to them and connecting with them in a way that is through God, right? Like you want to be open to God. You want to be kind of connecting to them in heaven with God instead of just like, any spirit that's out there, right? Never say that. Just, I had somebody tell me that once. I'm like, please don't ever say that again. That's not what we want to do. Like, we want to have very strong discernment, please. For everybody's highest and greatest good. I just want to check my notes really fast. But yes, so I got off on that discernment track, but circling back around, when you're building that connection with God, with your higher power, that is what gets you. God is with you in the trenches. God is with you when your vibration is the lowest, when you're defeated. God is with you when your vibration is the highest and you're just in joy and soul alignment and everything in between. Like God is powering you up through everything. It is strengthening. Your higher power gives you resilience. It gives you belief. It gives you faith. It gives you um, courage, the strength. It gives you the power to show up for others. Okay. And I say that because I see so many people, and I'm going to dive more into this too, but felt called to share it here. I see so many people go into like just the spiritual kind of new agey world and I don't know what happens, but somewhere along the way, it turns very much into victimhood where it's like I'm so sensitive, I can't hear anything that's going on. I'm so sensitive I can't be out in the world. I'm so sensitive I can't be around people. I'm so empathic I can't be around anybody who's at all going through anything challenging, right? Like it turn and these aren't terrible people. You hear that and you think, "Oh, they're selfish." They're not bad people. They're actually not even selfish people normally. It's something that happens in that world. I personally believe a lot of it is spiritual warfare or them not protecting their energy, not being plugged into their real higher power, just kind of exploring all the energetics without good energy hygiene and like tapping into other people with no protection, essentially, right? Because that's going to weaken you. Okay. So if you're feeling that way, my advice would be, good awareness and let's plug into your higher power and get that strength from God and get that protection from God. Maybe say some prayers to God. God, clear me of any and all energy that's not mine, clear me of any and all, negative um, entities that may have attached to me at some point in time. I renounce all evil. God, bring me into alignment with you, bring me into the light, only allow, my loved ones from the other side or your angels or spirits that are of God that are aligned with God's will to be around me, remove anything that is evil, anything that is dark, any curses, and any energetic pollution. Thank you, amen. I was like, kind of ran a bunch together. You could pull something from that, but I just wanted to give you an idea. You can also look up, there are tons of prayers for every, you know, religion, every belief system that you can pull from. But that's like, I just want you to know that distinction of being spiritual, being highly sensitive, being empathic. It makes you stronger when you're plugged into that higher power. It is not a weakness. It actually makes you a stronger person. And believe me, like I teach people who are empathic and highly sensitive and very in tune, who are in the military in situations that you couldn't imagine, that I couldn't imagine, who are in law enforcement and see the worst of humanity every single day and show up bringing that light into that darkness, like who are lawyers, who are in politics, in all these circles, so where there's a lot of darkness. And that is the point, right? Is that we get to bring the light into the world. Okay. And so your higher power is always going to strengthen you. It is never going to weaken you or victimize you or isolate you. That is the work of negative energies. They want to cut you off from the world. They want to isolate you. They want to weaken you. God wants you to be in the world and have all of this love and feel really great. And yes, you still might be introverted. I'm not saying that you're going to be like a sudden extrovert and have endless energy. You still might be highly sensitive, introverted. You don't want to watch the news all day long. You don't want to be around negative people or tons of people all day long. Okay, but you're not like, I can't leave my house because of, I can't handle being in the world, or I can't like hear anything, like, right? Like, I just want to get that distinction there. Um, because God makes us spiritual warriors. And that's really what it comes down to. It builds us up as spiritual warriors, and we can do anything through God. Um, and so that's, I feel like remembering, if you can remember that, if you can remember how lucky you are to have your faith, to have your connection with your higher power, to really like tap into the gratitude of that belief, the gratitude that you know about heaven, that you know about the afterlife, that you know that you have your loved ones over there helping you with your angels, with God, maybe with Jesus, if that's what you believe in. Like all of that, like your creator, the creator of the universe, right? God created the universe, the world thought to create you. Like, remember that and plug into that as often as possible. And know that, like, sometimes we need to bring back our beginner mindset, right? And like remind ourselves how powerful that connection to God in heaven is, and how much help we have and the support that we have. And if you're wanting to kind of renew your faith, maybe revive your faith, maybe like I said, you're like where that client was, you're feeling called to believe, but you're also hesitant to jump into anything like too woo-woo or too out there or too religious. I have a class coming up. It's called Heaven Sent, and it's going to be a 6-week course. And I'm going to guide you through powerful practices because of all this work I've done. People like that client, I've learned, and in the group, it's even more palpable. Like Zoom groups are amazing. My groups, like I usually cut it off, between 20 and 30 people because I like to have it like big enough but small enough. Um, where I can still see your questions, I can still, interact with all of you. I don't like having hundreds of people personally, in a intimate class like that. So I cut it off around there so that you have plenty of, safety and space to ask your questions, to participate, to be, seen, and feel that sense of belonging and get to know other people in the group. And I guide you through your own personal experiences so that you can have a direct connection, whether it's with Jesus or with God, or your higher power as you understand your higher power to be. Um, it's all, I work to be really biblically aligned, but I also don't want to, like I said, I have people from all religions, all faiths, all belief systems. So I don't dump it on you either. Um, so I would love to have you join us if you are feeling like, "Ah, I could use a renewal." It's going to be amazing. So make sure you check out the link in the description or reach out to me to get on the wait list for when enrollment is going to open because these classes always sell out and this is a brand new one. So I know there's a lot of excitement around it. I would love, love, love to have you join us. It's just going to be absolutely phenomenal. And those of you who are craving, who heard the story and you're like, I want to have that experience, like this will help facilitate that for you. So I'd love to have you ask me any questions. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love creating this show for you with God and all of the messages and stories that God guides me to share. This story was very specific to share with you today. So I would love to hear from you if you resonated with this, if you felt like a message came in today that was just for you. I want you to know, like, that's all God, because again, it was very specific. I was like, I had another topic in mind. God's like, no, we're going to share this one. And like, that's what we did. So I hope that the message really touched your heart and that you feel inspired and more connected. And just thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you follow my show. My gosh, my that you followed the Sarah Renee show. Sorry. On wherever you listen to your podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you got any value from this. Leave a comment. I would love, love, love to hear from you and share this episode with any of your loved ones that need to hear this message today. Thank you so much. I love you and have a beautiful rest of your day. I will talk to you soon.